Thank you for tuning in with me today, and thank you for watching this video. I really appreciate it. We're almost at 3.2K subscribers. We keep steadily growing. Make sure you tell your friends about me. If you haven't already go ahead and hit the like and subscribe. We definitely appreciate that. Some feedback from you guys as the viewers. I'm cutting down the hands folded post flop. I'm going to max it out to about 1.5 minutes because I noticed some videos, especially when I have a 9-10 hour session, that the hands that I folded could be like 40 hands, and doing that adds up to about 3 minutes. So I'm just going to narrow that down to about 1.5 minutes. I appreciate the feedback on that, guys. Let me know if you guys like that. And yeah, had a great time at Rockford Charity Group. Make sure you watch it all the way till the end. You'll see whether or not we end up being up or down. There were a couple of huge pots that I just had the camera off that didn't cover it. There was one for like 2,000 and another for 1,000 that we ended up taking advantage of, but or being on the positive side of things. But in any case, make sure you guys watch it all the way to the end so you can see the in-depth analysis. Again, this is another video where I could have had 10-15 videos, but I tried narrowing it down to 5. And I was going to put in some blocker bet hand reviews history that I did here, but I've covered blocker bets quite a bit, so I'm trying to gear this one a little bit more towards Big O, and then we'll get back into PLO and stuff like that. But yeah, you guys are in the Texas area coming up in February. We do have a bunch of meetup games scheduled. We've got them all listed right here. You can sign up with them on Poker Atlas, and then for the Hideaway, if you give them a call, you can sign up and do a pre-sign-up sheet there, so that way we know how many people we're expecting. So we're pretty excited about this. So again, link for merchandise is going to be down below. I'm working on a design for a shirt that says, when in doubt, pot it out, but that's probably going to be like 2, maybe 3 months from now before I get around to that. So, but yeah, definitely appreciate everybody watching, and as always, play smart and run like a god. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but in the last couple of videos, I like to theme my videos. So this video is themed high variance, high reward. So when we look down at a hand like 6, 7, 10, 10, king, double suited both in clubs and hearts, this is a high variance, high reward hand. This is what I like to call or refer to as a smash or pass hand. So smash or pass means that your hand's pretty much one way, and in Big O, when you have 5 cards, you're either going to smash the pot and continue with the hand, or you're basically going to get rid of it. So we are looking for things like 10x, Jack Queen X, 8-9x. You guys get the general gist of it. So Wayne is the person who actually opened $15 pre-flop. You can see right there that I'm on the button, and you can see that there's $55 on the button. We're playing the small blind jackpot game. Now Wayne's not in the small blind, so that doesn't impact whether or not he has a hand here. He's actually under the gun, so I put him on ace deuce. So when the board comes 3, 4, 5, and I flop the nut straight, I'm a little shocked that this is where my smash or pass hand is. So when Wayne leads out for $25,
he's really signifying, betting into 3 players, that he definitely has ace deuce. One of the things I love about Big O is that when you're playing with a lot of tight players, it's pretty easy to put him on a range of hands. So when he bets $25, first player's going into the tank a little bit. He decides on making the call. Now the gentleman right behind him, which happens to be my right in the blue shirt, he happens to be an extremely tight player as well. So when he calls, I'm thinking to myself that these guys both have ace deuce, and either they both have ace deuce or one of them's on a draw. And I need to raise the pot a lot, not enough to get them out, but just a little bit of a juicer. So I make it $85. Now, just as a general note, if you still see that you're 4 ways and you're getting quartered, you do know that you're going to get your money back if you end up calling and somebody else has ace deuce. You're in fact only losing money if 3 players have ace deuce, or if you have absolutely no other draws to go with it. So Wayne does something that I was a little shocked with. He ends up folding. Now I'm thinking to myself that my read could have been off a little bit, and I'm thinking maybe he didn't have ace deuce. But I asked him after the hand, and he did tell me he did in fact fold ace deuce. So the second player goes in the tank for a little bit. At this point, I'm not sure if anybody has ace deuce. Somebody might have ace 6, and at this point I'm thinking I probably just need to represent that I could have ace deuce at this point. So this gentleman calls me. Again, he happens to be a tighter player at the table, so he ends up calling, and I'm thinking, okay, he could have ace deuce. Now the turn comes a jack of clubs. The jack of clubs really doesn't do much for me. It does give me the second nut club draw, but in all seriousness, I was really hoping for like an ace or a deuce to peel off so that this guy would feel a little bit more uncomfortable. But when he sees the king of clubs, he decides to just pot it out. So he ends up potting it. It's $320. Now, when he pots it, obviously I'm not going anywhere. I mean, I have the nut straight. I have the nut straight with the club, second nut club draw. I'm thinking to myself, okay, this is just a guy who's got ace deuce. Maybe he's got ace deuce 6. He's trying to apply some pressure. I go ahead and call. And yeah, he says he has ace deuce. We only have $20 behind. I'm like, I'm not going to bet $20 on the river. I'm not really worried about it. River comes another club, and he announces nut nut. So he has ace deuce with the ace high clubs. And I just show him I had 6-7 with king high clubs, and he ends up scooping me on this one. Hands like the last one just really want to make you take a shower. So in this particular hand, we are already on the flop. There's a small pre-flop raise. The flop's 3-4 king, complete rainbow. I'm in middle position, and we look down at deuce 6, 7, 8. So this is not a very strong hand at all in Big O. I mean, we have way too many middle cards. This is a hand that, if you're starting off in Big O, this is a hand I'm definitely going to fold. Now, the reason why I play it, this is, I think, within the first hour of the meetup game. First of all, I'm a maniac. I feel really comfortable in Big O, so I go ahead and bet $20. I think the reason why my VPIP is so high is because I do feel so comfortable navigating the channels of Big O. When you are playing a game like Big O, it's very much like navigating rocky channels through the water. So when the turn comes, the queen of club, this really shouldn't change anybody's hands whatsoever. I mean, the board was 3-4 king. Somebody could pick up backdoor clubs, but when the turn comes, essentially a complete blank and no one's showing any aggression here. I'm thinking everybody's just on a low draw. Somebody could have, like I said, backdoor clubs. They could have some kind of pair, like a pair of queens. So it checks around. Now, when it checks around, the river comes a king and pairs the board. Now, one of the biggest differences between what I would consider a recreational player and somebody who's playing poker for a living is, in a hand, it comes a point when you're a professional poker player that you realize the only way you can win the pot is by betting. And sometimes you want to kick yourself for putting yourself in these precarious positions at all. But here we are on the river. I arrived to the conclusion that there's no way I can win this hand. So I decided to lead out for $75. Now, in hindsight, I really don't like this bet. I think I'm way better off just polarizing my range and betting full pot size bets here. The reason why is because it's unlikely anybody has a king. The king did pair up, and not only that, but I really have no showdown value, so I don't even have like a dangling queen. So I would really prefer myself to make a pot size bet here. But I didn't make a pot size bet. Now, here's just a public service announcement. There's still 2 players left to act, and the player that is not in the hand, who ended up folding early, says that he would call, and he says it pretty loudly for the whole table to hear. This is one of those situations where, again, if you're not in a hand, please don't say anything that might influence action, because the first guy goes in the tank after he hears that somebody else would have called, and he decides to muck it, and the second guy goes in the tank for quite some time. Now, here I am thinking I can't say anything about the table talk because it might display what my hand is, and I'm thinking, please don't call, and the guy ends up mucking. And so I show the bluff, letting the guy know that his read was right. But again, don't table talk if you're not in the hand, please. Now keep in mind the theme for this video is high variance, high reward. So when I'm on the button and I look down at 4, 6, 6, Jack, King, first of all on the button, so I'm pretty much going to play any 5 cards. Not only that, but it's Big O, so I play pretty much any 5 cards anyways. But let's talk about this hand just for a second. If you're watching this video thinking to yourself, I need to learn how to play Big O, this is a hand that I would encourage my students to fold. If you're on the button, you can play it, but for the most part, if you're starting off on Big O, this is a hand that you want to fold. And the reason why is because when you're starting off playing Big O, you want easy decisions. Now I end up calling it, and the flop comes Ace, Queen, 9 with 2 clubs. As you can see, I'm on the button, and all the players are deciding to check it around to me. We've got 1 player ahead of us to check. Now I'm going to go ahead and lead out and bet. Now I know what a lot of you guys are thinking. You're thinking, Professor, this is crazy. All you have is a gut shot. You only have 1 club. You don't even have the ace high clubs. Why in the hell are you betting? An excellent question, Ace from Louisiana. But the reason why we happen to be betting here, 2 reasons. 1, we're trying to get anybody who might pick up a low draw on the turn out of the hand. And 2, we don't mind picking up the pot here because there are no lows. And we do have a gut shot. So we have a little bit of equity in this hand, even if we do end up getting called. We would prefer just to take the pot down now, but we bet out $45. We end up getting 1 caller. The gentleman in the black, that's Rob. He happens to be a very experienced high-only PLO 5 player. It was awesome for Rob to come out, and you could tell he was very uncomfortable in high-low situations. So when the deuce of diamonds comes out, it does bring out a low draw. There's 2 diamonds, 2 clubs. I don't like this hand at all. Now, I'm just in position, so at this point, I'm hoping that we can get to the river for free. So everybody checks to me, and I check. I'm happy that I got to the river for free. Now we see the river card is a 7 of hearts. Again, this is a high variance, high reward situation. So most conservative players at this juncture are going to check it back. And the reason why they're going to do that is because they have a low, they have some showdown value for half the pot. I don't like to take just half the pot. I like to try taking the whole pot, and as a backup plan, I can take half the pot as a backup plan, as plan B. So at this point, I know if it's checked to me, I'm going to end up betting maximum pressure. I'm going to bet full pot. And the reason why is because we want to get bad lows that are better than our bad low to fold. So we're going to try getting 5-6 to fold. We're going to try getting 3-4, not 3-4, but 3-5 to fold. So I go ahead and bet out $235. Rob quickly insta-calls. He says he's got a high, but he's not sure if he's got a low. I say I've got a 46 low with a pair of 6s for a high. He turns over, aces over with a 48 low, and we end up getting half the pot, and we're happy we did with such a crappy hand. Again, going with the theme of high risk, high reward, we look down at King, Queen, 9-5 double suited. Now we're already on the flop, and we have queens and 5s, and there's a queen 5-8 on the board with 2 spades. Now we do have 2 spades in our hands, so we do block some spade draws, but this is a high variance, high reward situation. As you can see, I am first to act. I am small blind. I ended up betting at $50. Now the turn gives us a full house. It puts another 5 out there. So in a situation like this, when you're first to act, you didn't face any aggression on the flop, most of the time you can make the assumption or make the educated guess that your opponent might be on a draw. They might have nut spades. This is a very draw-heavy board, so they could have any type of wrap, 6, 7, 9, 9, 10, jack, things of that nature. Now, of course, they could have pocket queens and pocket 8s, but I go ahead and I bet $50. Now, I'm betting $50 because I don't want to get any of those draws out there, and I want to look weak. So the player ends up calling. When he ends up calling, again, we have bottom full house. Our full intention is when the river comes that we're probably going to check most rivers. Even if it's a spade, we're going to check. Even if it's a blank, we're going to check. And the reason why is because if it's a blank, we are hoping that our opponent realizes that the only way they can win the hand is by betting at it. If it's a spade, we can check because then hopefully our opponent has spades and they think that they caught up when in fact they didn't. Now the river comes the blankest of all blanks, the deuce of diamonds. So I check it over to him. I'm enacting plan A, which is I still have a full house. I'm going to let you bluff at this pot. Hoping that plan A goes into work, and this gentleman ends up obliging. He ends up betting, it looks like about $140 or so. Now, if you have a plan and you're going to the river and the plan is working, you have to go through with the plan. Whether or not you're good is irrelevant. The point is your plan on the turn was to check the river and to let your opponent bluff at the pot. Now, when they're bluffing at the pot, it makes no sense to raise here because you're only going to get called by better. So I go ahead and snap call, and he turns over pocket eights. And I'm like, damn it, you're good. He was supposed to have either spades or a wrap draw. But in any case, eights full of fives are going to beat fives full of queens every day of the week. And you just have to be okay if you're playing a high variance, high reward type style like I do, that there's times where you're going to make calls and you're just not going to be good. And you have to be okay with that. All right. Buckle up, Buttercup. We're about to go for a ride. So we look down at 7-7, 9 Queen King with 3 spades in our hand. Let's talk about this hand for a minute. This, again, is a smash or pass hand. This is a hand that we're looking for a very specific flop. We're either going to smash it out of the park or we're going to pass. Now, this happens to be one of the highest variance, highest reward plays that you will find out there in Big O. So let's buckle up and see what happens. Again, by any stretch of the imagination, this is not a super strong hand, but you can see that it's a limped pot. Everybody's calling for $5, so pretty much everybody has every range in their hand. The problem that you run into with limped pots is you can never put your opponent on a hand. They can literally have any 5 cards because you're only betting $5. And let's face it, with the implied odds here, like if you look at my stack, I've got, I don't know, $1,000 in my hand, so you're literally getting 200 to 1 implied odds. Now, the flop comes Jack, Jack 7. Let's talk about this just for a minute. So the reason why this is an extremely high variance, high reward play, is especially when you're in Big O, is on a limped pot, it's likely one opponent is going to have a jack. And even if they have a jack with 4 other random cards, most of the time they're going to have 12 outs unless they have a pocket pair in their hand. So even on 12 outs on the flop, they're still going to win about 50% of the time. So even if I get it all in right here, I know best case scenario, I'm about a 50-50 favorite. So in this situation, yeah, I'm still going to bet out. I mean, flopping a full house is hard. Having a full house in Big O is a difficult task to do. So I go ahead and I lead out, I believe it's for $30. Now, again, this is a very high risk, high reward situation. And that's what this video is all about. So let's see what happens here. So when I lead out for $30, the lady to my left ends up raising. And she is not a player that gets out of line at all. She showed up at both days for the meetup game, which is awesome. And she's a longtime Big O player in the Chicago area. And the dealer's trying to make her go all in for an extra $5. But in any case, she ends up going almost all in for $60. Now, I know for a fact she has a jack in her hand because she's not going to get out of line. Now, the problem that you run into, again, is I know she has a jack. She could have Jack 7. I have pocket 7s, and the board's Jack, Jack 7. So we do have a full house. But keep in mind, even if she has a jack with 4 random cards, I'm still only a 50-50 favorite. Rob in the blue here happens to be a very tight player, and he ends up calling. Now, when he ends up flat calling, that is literally music to my ears. Had he check potted, I would have gotten rid of the hand. So in this situation, you could say, had he been a very aggressive player just to isolate the person who raised with a random jack, he ends up winning the pot. Congratulations, Rob. Instead, he ends up flatting. So some of the challenges that you run into when you happen to be a very tight player, a very conservative player, is a situation like this where you have 3 jacks, you have 4 other random cards that gives you a full house, and you're just calling. Where you have a maniac like myself who happen to flop bottom full house, but I know right now my hand is good. And this is a very high variance, very high reward situation. Now, because they are both very tight players, I'm really hoping that they're sharing the same kinds of hands. I'm hoping that they both have ace, deuce, jack, because that eliminates a lot of their own outs against each other. So I'm pretty much factoring that they both have ace, deuce, even though they both limped, and they both have a jack. So I know I have to fade an ace and a deuce. So basically I have to face 3 other random cards or 2 other random cards in each of their hands in order to scoop this. So because I believe that they're sharing their hands, I decided to do something a little unorthodox. I raise to 300, or 295, pardon me. So I make it 295, which is a full pot size bet. The lady to my left, of course, she's only got $5. She's going to end up calling. Now it gets back to Rob. I'm really putting Rob in a pickle here because I know all he has is a jack, and he does have 4 other cards. So he is definitely going to call. And here's the thing. I don't even mind the call from Rob. From Rob's perspective, he probably has about a 50% chance to win the hand. Now, if he does have something like King, King, Jack, Ace, Deuce, his chances do go down quite a bit, particularly because his Ace, Deuce is probably being shared with the lady to the left, and then he's only got Kings. So in all seriousness, he could have something like only 6 outs, which means he's only going to get there 25% of the time. So in this situation, I'm loving life. I'm thinking to myself, whatever you do, don't turn an ace, don't turn a deuce. I'm pretty much okay with everything else. I really don't want to see a 3 or a 4, but I'll take my chances with a 3 or a 4. Ace or deuce comes up, I'm pretty much shutting down the hand. So really, I'm looking for cards anywhere between 3 and king. And that's what I'm saying to myself is put a 3, put a 4, put a 6, put a 8, put a 9. You know, there's a lot more hands here that I feel comfortable continuing with. And I can tell that Rob is a little uncomfortable. He knows he doesn't have the nuts, and he just put in basically $300. Now, the turn is a 3. That is not exactly the card I wanted to see. But when Rob checks it over to me, I have to pounce on it. I have to assume that that 3 did not hit him. So we went with plan A, which was let's get as much money in when we have a full house. The turn comes up a 3. He very could easily have Jack 3 and very could easily check it because he is a conservative player. But in this situation, I'm like, you've only got $230, $240 left. I'm going to put you all in. I put him all in. He ends up calling. We end up seeing the river. The river's a queen. I show immediately that I have 7s full. And each player turns over a jack. And they were sharing some of their own cards. She turns over Jack King with pocket kings, and they both had a deuce in their hand. So we end up scooping a pretty substantial pot. So, yeah, finished up here at the Rockford Charity Group. These guys were great. It was a great game, great action. We got the game going at 12:30 each day. So, yeah, I'm pretty excited about that. Both days, I basically punted the first hour. Like, first day I was in for 1,500 in the first hour. Today I was in for 2,100 within the first hour. Just had a couple of really bad runouts, but overall in for 2,100. Today we were out for 4,126, so we have a positive 2K on this day. And we had some pretty big hands. It seemed like every time I turned off the camera to give it a break, I'd get involved in a huge pot that was over $1,000. So sorry I didn't catch everything, but 12 hours is a long time to be here. But as always, everybody, play smart and run like a god. Yeah, here at Rockford Charity Group, we ended up being pretty successful here. What do you think?
Yeah, no, it's really, really good turnout. Really awesome location. We're here at Country Club. Really, really great turnout both days. We pretty much had a full table pretty much both days, and we even had they even got a 1-2 PLO, which they normally don't get. They had a 5-5, much earlier than they normally get. So
yeah, so
definitely be back.
Yeah, there was good excitement around, and yeah, I'm pretty pumped. Definitely going to be one of my common stomping grounds down here in Chicago. So, but yeah, tomorrow we're going to go have Chicago deep dish pizza. Have you ever had it?
I have not. We got probably got like 5 or 6 recommendations on my phone here, so we're gonna have to like pick and choose which ones from those. We're not gonna hit probably all those, but
yeah, we're gonna pick one, and if you're from Chicago and we pick the right one, let us know in the comments.
Yeah.
All right. Well, play smart, everybody. Run like a god.